Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Tax in 10 with me, Rachel de Souza, and Andrew Robbins. We are both tax partners in RSM's London office and have a wealth of experience in dealing with a wide range of private client matters. Your feedback is valuable to us, so do keep it coming, especially if you have thoughts on any topics you would like us to cover.
So, Rachel, we've been hearing an awful lot about Conservative Party politics over the last few weeks. And the jostling for power is all really exciting to those of us who are political nerds. But it is starting to get a bit repetitive, I think. So today I want to talk about something completely different. Instead of talking about Conservative Party politics, I want to talk about the Labour Party.
Oh, goodness. I don't think any of our audience is interested in whether or not Keir Starmer is facing a leadership challenge. Come on, this is supposed to be a tax podcast.
Well, I still want to talk about Labour. So if I'm not allowed to talk about party politics, how about tax policy?
Well, I guess at least that's on topic. But look, come on, what Labour tax policies are actually worth talking about?
Well, how about the fact that the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has announced a plan based on a report from Warwick University, which is supposed to raise 3.2 billion a year in extra taxes by radically changing the remittance basis for non-dom taxpayers.
Oh, yes. Well, hang on, before we go any further, let's remind ourselves what the remittance basis actually means. So currently, any non-dom who has been resident in the UK for fewer than 15 tax years can elect to be taxed on the remittance basis. And this means that they are not taxed in the UK on their foreign income or gains unless they are remitted. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of what a remittance actually is, but it is a very wide-ranging term that covers using funds in the UK in many, many ways. So that's the current system. So what is it Labour are proposing to change?
So, Rachel Reeves has talked about the abolition of non-dom status with specific reference to this Warwick University report. Now, the report itself isn't talking about abolishing non-dom status, is just talking about remittance basis. And obviously for us as tax professionals, that difference in terms is really big.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so concentrating on the remittance basis, if it did get abolished, what would the implications be?
Well, according to Warwick University, you would raise 3.2 billion a year in extra tax, and only 77 non-doms would leave the UK as a result of the changes.
Well, that sounds a bit too good to be true. I know the report bases its findings on 2017 when the domicile rules were changed then. But the situation was very different back in 2017 because the people who were going to be affected by the changes that were being brought in had time to take action in advance and essentially protect their current position, as it were. If we're going to see a complete abolition with no ability to plan around it, I kind of think the results would be pretty different.
I agree. I think the problem with abolishing the remittance basis as a tax raising idea is that the people who've got the most foreign wealth are likely to be the ones who can most easily limit their time in the UK. So, becoming non-resident so they pay no UK tax at all is a real option for them. I can see a number of my clients just deciding to limit their UK days to 90 every year so they can still do the summer season and Christmas shopping, but just without being tax resident.
And we already have a few clients where the wealth effectively sits with the husband. He's not resident in the UK as he's spending his time in various different countries, on business and so on, but where the wife actually still remains here and she's resident here. And now this can be really tax efficient as the husband is not taxed in the UK at all on his foreign wealth. And he can remit it to the UK for his wife's expenditure. And that remittance, because he's non-resident, is of course tax-free. Now, clearly, that type of an arrangement may not suit all couples, but will certainly be an option for quite a few of them, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, we have clients who are already doing this, and it works very well for their lifestyles in a lot of cases. I think another big area there where we would see a big impact would be families moving to the UK where their children are being educated. The current 15-year remittance basis period works really well for this, because you can move to the UK while your children are in school and then leave when they're at university. If we lose that remittance basis option, a lot of wealthy families will just look at education options elsewhere.
Yes, and we should also not forget that many European and other countries are already competing with each other to attract the wealthy by offering a privileged tax regime, such as our non-dom system. I mean, just to name a few off the top of my head, you've got Portugal, Malta, Switzerland, Spain, Greece, and more recently Croatia, and all of these places have privileged tax regimes. Of course, we shouldn't forget the lure of the UAE, where there are no personal taxes at all. And again, I have a lot of clients who are very happy to relocate down there to get the benefit of that zero tax rate.
Yep, I have to say that's not my idea of naming just a few countries, but I do take your point. And I think that what all of this is telling us is that we need to be starting to have conversations now with our clients, sooner rather than later, especially if they've not yet been in the UK for 15 years, so they don't already have offshore trust structures or equivalents in place. If they do win the next election, non-doms may need to decide really quickly what they want to do. And there definitely won't be enough time to start that process from scratch before we get the normal emergency budget. So I think my message there is that if you're a non-dom who's been in the UK for less than 15 years, you need to start planning now, because if you wait until after the election, it may just be too late.
I think that must be right. So that's great advice. Now, moving on a bit though, have you got a good recommendation for us?
I do. Another podcast this week. So British Scandal, which is a whole series of sort of podcasts covering different scandals. It's typically 3 or 4 episodes per subject. I've just finished one about the Profumo affair, and not subject I was necessarily interested in, but listening to this, it was fantastic. It made me horrified, I have to say, about the treatment of young, attractive women in 1960s British society. It was really eye-opening on that, but really well told, light touch, engaging, just really interesting. British Scandal.
Okay, I'll have a listen into that one. Well, thank you for listening. Please do let us have your comments or your feedback, and we can be contacted on rachel.d'Souza@rsmuk.com or andrew.robbins@rsmuk.com. Until next time.
Bye.